Hello, and welcome to the Functional Academics On-Demand webinar series. Today, we're going to be talking about program generalization and creative curriculum ideas when applying the Functional Academics program in natural contexts. I do want to make sure that you have access to the Functional Academics website, functionalacademics.net. Go ahead and navigate to your browser there right now. And if your district has access to this website, then you should be able to log on with your password, your email and password. If you have trouble logging on or do not know about this site or know if your district has access, please contact us. As always, a reminder to have a master folder on your desktop labeled Functional Academics Master Folder. As you get into the digital download site, you may find things that are interesting that you would like to save in that moment so you don't have to go back and find them again. Again, I highly recommend that you have this folder on your desktop or on your Google Drive or somewhere where you can be storing documents that you find on the website. Quick reminder, if you'd like to follow us on Facebook, we have a social media site, Functional Academics on Facebook, or you can join our Changemakers Facebook group. Go to Sire Fitzgerald Program for Functional Academics Changemakers and request to become a member. Now let's get started. Let's remember that the Functional Academics by Sire Fitzgerald curriculum is designed to be the foundation of a life skills program. The focus is on functional and meaningful skills. They're going to be transferred into the natural setting and community after graduation. The point of this program is to create an individualized program for each one of the students and use those skills in conjunction with other curriculums as well, maybe like social skills or literacy or other handwriting skills, Gen Ed and even Gen Ed core curriculum standards. Let's remember what the instructional formats of the program lessons are. Most of the program lessons you will find are found in the format of direct instruction or task analysis scripts. These allow for teachers to be able to perform and implement the program on an individual basis, giving direct feedback and correction procedures in the moment so that kids can have the best success. Then we look at how we create independent activities for students to do on their own time, usually once a student has mastered a skill through direct instruction or is currently working and has a high percentage of success. Generalization and application activities are embedded in the extended lesson plans and the new website, which we're going to talk about today, which encourages opportunities for practice and generalization in contextual environments. Basically, how do we apply the skill we just learned in direct instruction into real life, which is really where the importance of this program lies. How are our students going to apply these skills on a daily basis in natural environments? Let's do a quick review of what those elementary content areas are. This is a screenshot from the functionalacademics.net site. Once you go to elementary level curriculum lesson plans and activities, we have functional reading, colors, shapes, location concepts, technology, writing, time telling, calendar, money math, community-based training, and independent skills. In secondary, you will find similar categories, similar content areas, a little bit different. Calendar is now considered time management. We have things like budgeting and banking, community-based training, and pre-vocational skills. So the components of the functional academics curriculum begin with the curriculum, or that content area guidelines. We have those curriculum flow charts and lesson plans. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, I highly recommend you look up curriculum, the webinar that talks about the curriculum overview. This will be a very good webinar to teach you the basic skills of the program and how to actually go about implementing it. Today, we're going to be focusing on those independent activities and the generalization and application of the content in our classrooms. Okay. If you are in functionalacademics.net at the moment, you will find a lot of the content that we're going to reference today in the button called Lesson Plans and Activities. You can also access it from the side menu, Lesson Plans and Activities. For those of you that only have the print version of the Functional Academics program and have not accessed this website yet, I want you to know that you do have free access to it with your print program. Okay, reach out to your district admin and ask them for free access. If you do have just a printed curriculum guide or program masters, you won't see the extended independent activities and generalizations. These are new additions only found on the functional academic site and are continued to be updated all the time. So definitely make sure you get access to the site and can get in and check out these lesson plans and activities, which will inspire you to be creative and do fun things with your students that are beyond the direct instruction of flashcards and manipulative materials. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those lesson plans and activities. Today I went into lesson plans and activities and I clicked on time telling. I'm going to go through what a lesson plan is that you will find once you scroll down to these areas, okay, and the components that are found in them. So there's lots of things that you will find in a lesson plan format, and here they are here, but I'm going to pull one up so we can take a look. So let me just get out of this screen share for a moment here. And we're going to pull up time telling. Okay, so when I'm in the lesson plans and activities, today I'm going to go to the secondary curriculum level, just for fun. And I'm going to pull up time telling. Okay, when you scroll down, you can see that here's all the component areas for time telling, starting with using a schedule to match time and telling time. So I'm going to click on the time telling time lesson plan and see what I come up with. Okay, so you can see here through the digital access site, you have a lot of hyperlinks that are really beneficial to be able to follow along and download documents as you go. In the actual print program, these things are offered in print version and can be found in your program masters. So here you have your curriculum teaching manual and your guides for all the lessons. You will see that you have your curriculum lesson guidelines for each of the components, content areas in each one of these lesson plans. You have your lesson plans and data sheets. Remember, this is a very classic lesson plan that just has the script for the direct instruction or the task analysis breakdown. So again, we talk about this a lot in the curriculum overview webinar, but this is a very common traditional lesson plan here, and you have your data sheet included, okay? So instead of reproducing or taking photocopies of the printed ones you have, you can always print one right from here. Talks about your supporting materials, the things you need for flashcards, for the table for direct instruction, and then let's kind of look in here. So we have independent practice activities. In all of the lesson plan content areas, you will find a section that says independent practice activities. This is what we're going to give our students once they are either at in a progressive percentage of mastery towards a plan, right, towards this content goal. We want to make sure we can give them something that even with minimal help, they can complete on their own. We really want them to be independent, hence the words independent activities. So this is a template that can be used in many different ways. Okay, this could be printed and a student with a pencil could connect the digital time to the analog time. This could be laminated and a student could use a wipe-off marker. These images could be cut out and put on a file folder with Velcro and have students matching to them. Okay, they could be replicated or copied several times and have the students sort and match digital time to analog time. So there's several things you can do with this template, and they are included here in the lesson plan with time. Okay, they have ones for hours, half hours, quarter hours, 5 minutes, and by the minute. Here's some other templates and some of the lesson plans that you find across the curriculum. You will find teacher-to-teacher shared templates, which means if a Sire Fitzgerald teacher has been kindly willing to provide some materials that they have created for their classroom to be shared with others, we have included them here in these lesson plans. These are the ones that used to be found in shared resources on the shared resource website and now are embedded in the lesson plans themselves. Okay. So here's another link. Here's another template here of a teacher, and then you have access to that. And then we have some additional recommendations for maybe some other curriculum and programs that would be supportive and helpful for you. So this is an example of time telling. Okay, those are the components that you will find in a traditional lesson plan. Again, the title of the program, your guidelines, those direct instruction and task analysis, lesson plans and data sheets, the materials needed, the links for your materials for your one-on-one or small group, instructional tips, your independent practice activities, and ideas for generalization and teacher-shared resources. Now, not every lesson plan content area yet has generalization ideas, meaning not every lesson plan has them. We're getting there, and teacher-shared resources or additional accommodations. Let's take a look at another one. SightWords is a really popular program that many of you are running in your classrooms. So when we open up the lesson plan for SightWords, we have the guidelines here. We have the lesson plan and data sheet. And in case you didn't know, we have a blank SightWord list or filled out sample lists that you can keep track of the words that you're working on. Okay. Oftentimes these new shared SightWord list, okay, I send home to families or use to generate the list that we'd like to work on. You have your supporting materials and your labels and flashcards for your SightWords. But let's look at these independent practice activities. Let's say your students are working on public transportation words and they've gotten to quite a level of mastery. Now it's time for them to go on and work on their own while you work with another student. So we have 5 activities here. Let's see, word to picture only. Let's take a look at what this one is. Okay, where you have the ability for a student to match the words to the pictures. Again, this can be done in many different ways. You could reuse the paper, you could use sheet protector with dry erase, you could provide pennies or nickels, dimes or quarters to have them map, put similar coins onto the same words. You could replicate and make copies of them and have them sort and match, but lots of different ways that these can be used. I have seen this content actually be put into Google Slides as well, and students work through the PowerPoints or Google Slides to match the words to the pictures, okay, as they move along. There's lots of ways to integrate these into different applications now on tablets, iPads, and Chromebooks where students can practice these words and even have speech-to-text output to read them off for them. So that's an example of independent practice activities that you can find in SightWords. Okay. As we move on, we see a few different ideas for sorting and categorizing, like we were talking about, right? Being able to print those out and have a student sort and categorize them. We have more ideas for generalization here. There's some general transportation generalization activities. So taking those words into the community, where in the community can you find the words that say bus, avenue, street, right? Street number. I've seen a lot of teachers do smartphone cameras that they're taking pictures of the words that they see in the community. There's some ideas here for banking activities and vocational activities. And then we have these teacher shared templates. There's quite a lot in here, which is a lot of fun. So here's an ELA map aligned with the words in this program, using SightWords and Google Slides activities, and then additional recommendations. So again, these activities go way beyond what you had access to in prior versions of the print program for Styler Fitzgerald, and you have digital access to so many things. Okay, so as we move on, I want you to remember that the independent activities, let's talk a little bit about what independent activities mean. Okay, most of this program is based on direct instruction, one-to-one or one in small group, but we eventually want our students to be able to do these activities in a way that will create independence for them. I say to teachers, imagine if you're able to work with 1 or 2 students at a table and the rest of your students are sitting and working quietly, completing tasks, maybe with minimal help from their paraeducators. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? Of course. And so what we're going to use these independent activities for is to promote that independence and as well as reinforce the skills that they've learned in the direct instruction. Okay. Again, they can be found in almost every lesson plan of the activities pages that you find on the website, and there's lots of activities to choose from. Some of these templates also might inspire you to do something beyond what we have and create some engaging activities for the students. Here's a few ideas of how teachers have gotten quite creative with independent activities. They've used the flashcard templates, laminated them, and created manipulative activities for their students to do. Be it elementary or secondary, as you know, anything that requires manipulation of the hands and fine motor and visual, what do you call it? eye task, whatever. Anything that's going to be able to engage many components of learning is going to be much more interesting for students. So here a teacher has used clothespins and written the word on the clothespins, and then the students have to take off the clothespins and match them to the word on the card. Okay, really great idea. Here, a teacher has used those file folders. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see. Here, the teacher has used file folder pictures that were mentioned in independent activities and given them blank pages to categorize, okay? So it's not always just pen, paper, and worksheets, but different things that students can manipulate can make the work engaging and interesting. Here's a notebook full of different activities that a student is doing. In these different ones, they're matching colored shapes, right? Matching and matching. Here's a really fun one with subtraction and math, right? They have a little bin with their own calculator and their own pen, and then have the thing to do. They have the worksheet to complete on their own, but they're not having to write in the answers necessarily with a pencil and a worksheet. They get to manipulate the numbers and move them around. This one here for money math is really interesting as well. They have copies of the math of the dollars in the folder. And then when they open up each page of the folder, it tells them how much to put in the pocket. Okay, and a lot of teachers ask, well, how do we organize these independent activity boxes and independent schedules in order for them to work on their own? And there really is quite a variety of a way to do this. Some of the most simpler ways I've seen are independent workstations, like here on the left-hand side. If a student is working in their own independent workstation, they may have a bin like this where they have 3 activities that are sequential, and they have a little mini schedule on their table, which would have this paw print, dinosaur, and looks like an owl next to it on their table, and they would know that's the order of the activities they're going to do. When they're ready to do the activity, they would peel off the footprint and put it on the shelf or the drawer of the activity they're going to complete. Many students are taught how to open that drawer, take out the activities, sit down, do the work, complete that work, and put it back into the bin. It's absolutely possible, teachers. I personally have done it in a classroom of 8 elementary, young elementary, preschool, kindergarten age children with pretty significant autism. And this system teaches independence, skill, and it keeps them engaged and interested. On the right-hand side, you can see a little bit more of a complex system of independent work tasks. You see the tables and chairs here where the students would have their ability to work independently. And most of them have a schedule here on the left-hand side with the numbers of boxes that will correspond to them that day. So they would match the number to the box, perform the task in the box and complete it and put it back on the shelf. Some of the tasks in those boxes are absolutely related to the curriculum we're talking about here that can be downloaded from the website. Some of the activities in those boxes are complementary to those activities and can include anything from fine motor activities to cutting, stringing, beading, whatever it may be, that can keep them engaged and follow a sequence of independent activities. When we look at generalization and application, now we're thinking of the most important component of the Starr-Fitzgerald program. How can these skills be generalized into the natural environment, into the classroom, outside the classroom, and into the community? Again, like I showed you earlier on those lesson plans, some of those lesson plans do have the generalization components included in them. Let's look at subtracting prices. This is one of my favorite ones. We have independent practice activities, and like we just saw in the picture, and then we have generalization. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of that generalization. Okay, so the task of adding and subtracting prices in the functional academics program and the direct instruction lesson plan is quite simple, right? Students enter in a price in the calculator, they enter another price and add it up to find a total price or subtract it. But let's think about what are the realistic materials that students are going to find in the community in the natural environment. As you see here, prices are not always written in a very formal way, the way we learn them in math, right? Look how 99 cents is written here on this coupon and $4.99 is written here in an ad. So cutting out pictures of what prices look like on online ads, most of the ads are online nowadays, or when you go to the local grocery store, pick up an ad and cut out the advertisements for the prices. They can be laminated and then put on cards where students can add them up and make their own math problems. Here you have a digital ad, one that I cut out of the newspaper, out of the digital site. You can even do complex math with calculating percentages and discounts. So there's lots of ways. Here, this elementary teacher here on the right-hand side has a store. She has a classroom store with all kinds of non-perishable goods, even just empty boxes like the egg carton and different boxes from cereal and things that she kept or had parents come in and donate. And then each one of these pieces of products has a price on them. You can see that she has coupons over here and ads over here where they have to match the products to the price and the coupon. So there's lots of really fun ways that we can take that learning from the table and implement it into a classroom setting or even a community setting by using different and engaging materials. Okay, here's another one I really like. When we're working on sight words, so many of you use flashcards to start, right? Flashcards to begin the sight words, and that's great. But where are our students going to find those words in the real environment? Well, most of the time, let's say you're working on food words, you're going to find them in menus. And what's the most common scenario where a student would need to read words of food would be when they're ordering food off of a menu at a restaurant. So here I've gone online and taken a bunch of pictures of different photos or downloaded a bunch of photos of different restaurant menus. Some of them are printed ones like the ones you get at the table, and some are ones that you would see up on a reader board. You can print these off, laminate them, make them as big as you want or as small as you want. Hey, put a whiteboard on your own classroom wall and make a menu like this and do some role play with your students. Get your students to find the words they're looking for in real life materials. Okay. Here's some other ones I found for sight words, like signs on the side of the road, on the side of a restaurant. Here's some signs that I found outside of a classroom. Can your students go on a sight word hunt and find the different words around their school? How about a recipe book? One of the best places to find food words. Or the school lunch menu. I look up the school lunch menu every single day for my kids. Can your student learn to look up the school lunch menu online or look at a paper copy of it and see what is coming for lunch that day? How can we integrate these words into real life scenarios? As far as fun activities for generalization and application, here's some creative ways that teachers have engaged. We know that there's a program in elementary for colors. Many of you have sat at a desk and worked on matching colors, sorting colors, organizing manipulative blocks in colors, testing colors, that who's actually having fun in generalizing colors. Sometimes I think, why do kids need to know colors anyway? Well, there's lots of really fun ways that you can teach and instruct and then build it in to give them purpose for why they would have to know colors, other than a descriptive word in a communication sentence. Okay, so this teacher has a really cool setup here on a like a stand-up easel where she has the colors on one side and the words over here, changing the visual field, changing the materials, changing the way students have to engage. Even just getting them to stand up to do activities is a lot different and more interesting and engaging than sitting at a table and sorting through flashcards. I love the idea of where do you find colors in early elementary play? In games, and oftentimes in board games. So a simple game like Candyland, where all of the cards are colors and the pieces are colors, can your students apply and generalize those color skills to the board game of Candyland? I always like to laugh and talk about playing Twister with our students, right? Right foot on green, left foot on red. How can we engage different fun activities with our students that generalize those skills they are learning? Okay, here's some more things to do with colors, sorting, numbers, letters. Most of you are working on letter sound ID. Can you get out a game of Scrabble or Kids Scrabble and accommodate and adapt that game to make it fun? Shape sorting, blocks, sorting colored pencils, using manipulatives. All these different ways where we can engage with materials in an interesting way that keeps our students interested. Okay, here's some more great generalization application ideas. When you're talking about time telling, I found a teacher that did a really cool thing with this digital website called toytheater.com. They have a lot of digital sources on there that engage students for free. Using a watch. Can you have parents send a really inexpensive watch for your students to wear so that they can actually look at the time and match with the school clock and understand how their school schedule is going? Instead of just learning clocks on flashcards on a table, can they generalize it to their environment? Most of you probably do calendar, but this is a real fun way a teacher had the days of the week and the words written on an easel in her classroom. So we're just talking about kind of creative ways. Let's think about calendar and time management. How many of you manage a calendar, or more than one, I imagine? Outlook, Google, on your phone, different Google accounts. I myself, I think I manage at least 3 calendars, if not 4, with my husband's small business as well. So when we think of our students, can they still be working in a planner? Some of them are working on simple visual schedules to help them organize their day, like time telling using a schedule. That can some of our older students or higher skilled students that have the ability to self-navigate throughout the day, can they write things down in a planner? Can half of them or all of them or any of them use a digital calendar? Can they be using their own Outlook or Google Calendar or the app on their phone to help them schedule what activities they have that they're going to be doing throughout the day? It could even be their daily schedule that embedded in their classroom, like their classroom daily schedule, especially for those that are in secondary, middle school, and high school that have changes of classrooms. When is lunch? When is recess? When do they get to go home, right? Probably the most common things our students look for, but how can we generalize those skills into their natural environment? Here's a couple of other ideas for generalization application of vocational skills. Many of our students will be working in vocational placements. I'll talk about vocational placement another time because it's one of my areas of real interest, but in the classroom, can we do something as simple as sorting and organizing seed packets or sorting and organizing gift cards? Many grocery stores have all kinds of gift cards on a wall, but they don't have money in them, right? They don't have money in them until they're charged. So can you go to a grocery store and ask them if they would be willing to donate a handful of those gift cards for your classroom? How about simple tasks that students can be carrying over to their home environment, like matching socks? It's a real fun one to do. It's a great fine motor activity. It's within the vocational and vocational skills section of secondary, or doing something like bundling up some of the materials that you need in your classroom and helping you organize the materials in your classroom. These are all different ways that students can be applying their skills in a natural context environment. Here's some really fun creative adaptations. Okay, this teacher here with the Matchbox cars and the letters had a student who was only interested in Matchbox cars and nothing else. And so she decided to make a parking lot of the letters and put a Matchbox, put a letter on the back of the Matchbox car. And his job was to park the car with the correct letter. It became one of his highest preferred activities to this day. I've seen a lot of elementary students and teachers using more manipulatives with creative things like shoe boxes and popsicle sticks. Anything that a student can manipulate and work with is always highly motivating for our early learners. Combination activities, create scenarios where you can practice lots of different skills. Like if you're going out into the community, can you combine the transportation program with the time telling with the sight words on a shopping list? How about you create a mock restaurant in your classroom? Can you create those sight words on a menu, have them find information and manage money? What about a field trip? Prep. You guys are going to go to the art museum next week. Can you include that in how to find information online, technology, use that technology for searching on an internet browser to find out what the hours of operation and what exhibits they have going, and can they write any of that information and tell you when those things are open? Okay, lots of ways to combine the program activities. Here's some examples of some high school students that I had years ago in a school. We had a great cooking program and a cafeteria on site, so we were able to combine so many of the functional skills areas, from measurement to reading the menus to reading recipes to social skills and communication with attending and serving the customers in our cafe. We had a greenhouse, which created a wonderful opportunity to integrate all sorts of sorting, coordination, organizing, all kinds of vocational skills there. And we did a lot of community inclusion activities where our students attended to events in the community. So I encourage you to think beyond just your classroom. I also like to talk about this cafe that I visited in North Carolina called Esteemed Coffee, which is a cafe specifically for adults with disabilities, and everybody that works there has a disability, but you have students that you have young adults who are doing everything from taking the money to making the espresso to cleaning the tables. Setting up those environments in your classroom or in your school also could be an incredible opportunity to practice so many of these skills. Okay, so I encourage you to take a few action steps and think about what are the programs you are currently running. Take some time to read through those lesson plans and activities on the functionalacademics.net site that you're currently teaching. Maybe you'll have access to materials or find something that you haven't seen before. Can you integrate generalization activities into those programs? Not can you, how can you? Because we can generalize everything, right? But how can we make them interesting and engaging? What fun, creative activities will you try, and what will you come up with? Because I always say, school has to be fun too, right? So what can we do with our students to help it be fun? And if you'd like to share with us any of your feedback, you will find at the bottom of every lesson plan a button that says, I have something to share, I have a recommendation, or provide feedback. We encourage you to do so. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you are in a group section or in a group environment, share with each other what creative ways have been working for you, or what fun generalization application activities have you created, and what ideas you'd like to share. And think about something you learned here today. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a great afternoon.